So Wincy on Twitter went ahead and posted this. By the way, shout out to Wincy, who has the Cincinnati Problems. I believe they do the Wincy podcast. Shout out to them. But they posted this one, which is generated second highest rookie pressure rate 2023 Myles Murphy. And this is according to the next gen stats powered by AWS. So I was like, holy crap. I didn't think Myles Murphy did really much of anything this year. Now, don't get me wrong. He played some good snaps. He played a total of 300 and where's his name? He's down here. 305 snaps, which again is less than Cam Sample, but out of all of our backups, especially as a rookie, he really took over and became a good rotational piece player. So I was like, okay, well, am I just forgetting how good he played? And am I also not realizing how bad the rest of the draft picks did? Because this year's draft pick-wise, there was Lucas Van Ness, there was Tyree Wilson, there was Will Anderson Jr., there was Nolan Smith, there was Felix for the Chiefs, off the edge. So I'm like, there's a lot of good guys. Also, BJ, Laurie, there was a lot of good options out there. So then I looked to see, okay, well, what was the other players that were in this draft? How many snaps did they have? And for example, Keon White, who was a second round pick for the Patriots, he had over 521 snaps. I'm like, okay, well, that's doesn't seem like, if what's his name? Myles Murphy is so high up there, he's really doing good. And then, you look at Will Anderson Jr., who had 630 snaps, and even down the list here, you go to someone like Nolan Smith, who actually, I believe, has one of the least snap count in the first two rounds, and he, of course, did play for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they have a really amazing defense. But even Nolan Smith, 188, which is still very, high up there. So I wanted to see, what did Myles Murphy do? So I'm looking at this on playerprofile.com, and of course it shows exactly all his credentials and how good of a player he is. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to do this video to take away anything from him. I'm just wondering what the pressure rate they're going off of. Because quarterback pressures, he had 10 on the season, right? He ranked at number 96 for the season. And then taking a look at this, he had one quarterback pressure in the Rams game, one in the Titans game, one in the Houston game, two in Pittsburgh's game, two in Minnesota's, one in Pittsburgh again, and then two in Cleveland. Now, obviously, this is his fantasy points. If you play fantasy football where you have defensive players, all power to you. I don't do that personally. But yeah, so I went ahead and kind of looked at this to see, okay, well, he has 10 quarterback pressures. Now, comparison-wise, here's what Will Anderson is. Will Anderson, Houston Texans, first-round pick. He's at 43. Okay, so fellow first-round pick here. So I thought, okay, well, this would be kind of weird if the number one is 43 and number two is 8. That seems like a very big drop-off. Sorry, number 2 is 10. That would be a very big drop-off. So I thought, well, what about Tyree Wilson? He was one of the best pass rushers out of this draft. He went to the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, he's actually at 16. Then you have Lucas Van Ness at 18. Nolan Smith at 7, which is below Myles Murphy. 6 is Felix. You have Derek Hall, who had 4. You have BJ Ujulari, who had 11, and then again going down this list, you go farther and farther. So based on quarterback pressures, Myles Murphy would not come in at number 2. He would come in at what? Number 1 would be that one. Number 2 would be number 2 is Lucas Van Ness. Number 3 is Tyree Wilson, and he would be number 4 amongst defensive pass rushers. Number 5 behind BJ Arlari. And I didn't even look up every single one from the draft. There could be draft picks that even higher. So my guess is the metrics they're going off of is more than just quarterback pressures. Might be getting pressure on the running back in the backfield, causing the play, blowing up the play. And of course, if you look at this percent snaps he's played to the amount of pressures he has gotten on the quarterback or any other position, it is very high up there, right? The less snaps you do, the less snaps you play, and the more you contribute to your snaps, the higher percentages you're going to have in every single category. Doesn't matter what you do. If you, if you play 5 snaps and you have 4 sacks, that looks a lot better than playing 600 snaps and getting 4 sacks, right? Or even you say 8 sacks and 600 snaps. If you look at a very small sample size and you're like, holy crap, this guy, for the amount of snaps he's had, he's been playing pretty damn good. Yeah, you look at it and you're like, that's a pretty damn good stat. I mean, he did have 3 sacks this year, which I completely forgot about. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these sacks he had was in at the end of the games. He had 1 versus Minnesota, 1 versus Pittsburgh, and 1 versus Tennessee. So again, like overall, like I said before, I am very happy with our pick here. Looking back, would I still say I'd rather have, players like Sam Laporta? Yes. Would I still rather have players like, potentially Michael Mayer? Absolutely. But I think overall wise, it's nice to see that, he definitely came in with a pretty good final stat line in the aspect of the second highest rookie pressure rate of 2023. And it's not the splash plays, right? And I think when you get a guy in the first round, you really look toward trying to make those splash plays or get the player that can make those splash plays. And that's definitely not Myles Murphy's game. But as I've said many times with Yannick Ngakoue over there in Indianapolis, he also played for the Colts, he played for Raiders. His biggest thing was he was never a sack leader. Like, he was never a guy who was getting crazy sacks. He just wasn't. Like, he might, in a single season, he might potentially get like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sacks. I know I just put a range of 8 to 12 there. But the point is, he would get so many quarterback pressures. And he would lead so much to other players getting sacks and making plays because he would take the double teams, he'd move guys around, he'd be able to finesse the defensive line to allow things to happen for other players. So at the end of the day, just because he's not the guy who's sitting there saying, hey, listen, I'm the big shot here, I'm the amazing player here, other guys were able to eat because of him. So that's also something to take in consideration. And again, we are also looking this based on rookies. So if we were to compare Myles Murphy compared to, every other pass rusher in the league, he probably wouldn't be in the top 100. But for rookies, he is, top 5, which is very, very awesome. And again, he was a first round pick. So I'm not trying to not discrediting him at all, but I'm saying this is kind of what you expect, though. This is what you use a first round pick. He was projected to be a top 5 pick at one point. This is what you expect as your return. If this was Jordan Battle, who was a 3rd round pick, I'd be sitting here saying a completely different story of like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. But when this guy is supposed to be a top 5 pick, he was a 1st round pick. We used the capital on him. This is what you expect. This is what I would say, not second, but you expect him to be top 5 among rookies, especially at minimum. That's kind of what you expect from a guy who is, I will say, as polished out of the draft as he was. I don't feel like he was a raw talent. He came from Clemson. He had a little bit of a mix of every single ability possible. He could run, he could cover, he could pass rush, he could run stuff. And that was what he was known for at Clemson. And then he comes to us, and he's more of a polished talent. This is kind of what you expect. When you get a raw talent, when he's just straight up raw talent, you really have no expectations. And anything he does, you're very happy with. This is kind of what we expected, in the realm of what we expected. Of course, we didn't expect number 2, but we expected very good things. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next one. Peace.